today's lecture we're going to discuss the acquisition of language. This is the first part of the acquisition of language, today's lecture. In the next lecture we are going to discuss the acquisition of language too, because it's a long topic which can be divided into two parts. So in this first part we are going to discuss language acquisition device. In the second part of today's lecture we're going to discuss the early stages of language acquisition. Today we're going just to discuss the early stages. In the 8th lecture we're going to discuss the later stages of language acquisition. So language acquisition device, what does it mean? What do we mean by language acquisition device? Don't be misguided by the term device, because it is not a device which you already know. It's a different device. We don't have devices inside our brains. It's a different device. What do we mean by language acquisition device? It is a property, so it is not a device with the literal term or literal meaning of the word device. It's a property. It is not a device like a watch or a computer or a software. It is a property. So it's a property of child's brain that gives the child's brain a tendency for acquiring language. So as I have said earlier in previous lectures, we are born with an ability to acquire language. So this ability, this tendency is called language acquisition device. If you keep teaching an animal, the animal will not be able to acquire language. If you teach any other if you teach an insect, the insect will not be able to acquire language, because we are given by Allah, we are given the ability, the tendency to acquire language. This tendency is called language acquisition device. We are able to learn language. We are able to acquire language. So here's the language acquisition device. Here's how it looks like, and here's how it functions. So the child, if we read it from the left to the right, we see first the child receives input. Input is the language that the child hears. The child, after he is born, or even before his birth, he hears signals. He hears in his environment, in the child's or her environment, in the child's environment, he hears speech gestures. So he hears, as he is growing, as the child is growing, he is hearing the stimulus, he is hearing language. This is called input. The language acquisition device makes use of this input in order to acquire language. So the language acquisition device is all about universal grammar, the principles and parameters, and acquisition strategies, which are inside the child's brain. This is internal. This is inside the child's brain. So after enough input and enough growth, possibly starting from the 8th to the 9th month, the child starts to bring output. The child starts, after enough input and after enough processing in the language acquisition device, the child starts to give output, starts to utter new words, starts early use of grammar. So language acquisition device is inside the child's head. It is a property, it is not a device with the literal meaning of the word device. It's a property inside the child's mind, which gives him or give her the ability to acquire language, the ability to learn language. Okay? Now let's move on to the early stages of language acquisition. We can divide the early stages of language acquisition to two parts. The first is before birth to 12 months. So before birth, does acquisition start even before birth? Yes, we can say this, because hearing begins to develop at around 18 weeks of pregnancy. So while the child, or while the fetus, al-janin, fetus, while the fetus is inside his mom's tummy, in the 18th week, the child starts to perceive and starts to receive, starts to hear linguistic utterances and linguistic stimulation. So soon after the development of hearing, the fetus starts to respond to auditory stimulation. So as the mother of the child, as the mother of the fetus is speaking, the child starts to respond. Of course, this is not at the beginning of pregnancy, this is in a later stage of pregnancy, the 18th week. So it can be argued that human sensitivity to language starts even before birth. Why? Because the fetus, the child, even before birth, starts to respond to mom's auditory signal. So as the mom is speaking, and the fetus who is inside her tummy, the child starts to respond to her speaking. This is even before birth. So we can argue then that linguistic sensitivity, people's sensitivity to language, starts even before birth. Now what happens after birth? So after birth, from the very first day to 12 months, which is 1 year, infants by birth, or by the time they were born, infants have had access to the general prosody. What we mean by prosody? It's the rhythm and intonation of language. So even before birth, the child has been exposed to the prosody of language. Thus, they are able to recognize their mother's voice. We are not in the stage of language, we are just in the stage of voice, prosody, the music of language. The child has had access to this even before birth. So as they are born, they have the ability to recognize their mother's voice, not language, their mother's voice. There's a difference between language and voice. Most children start to discriminate many phonemic contrasts at this age, which is before 12 months. So as they complete their first year, or before they complete their first year of life, they are able to discriminate many phonemic contrasts in a language. For example, they are able, even before their first year, they are able to discriminate between s sound and sh sound. They are able to discriminate between p sound, the voiceless, and the voiced b sound. So they are able to discriminate, to tell apart that this sound is different than the other. They are able to discriminate many phonemic contrasts at this age, which is right before they complete the first year of life. Now what happens next? Newly born infants have had access to... Okay, this is actually the same. So the only difference in this slide we have is babbling. What do we mean by babbling? It is producing consonant and vowel strings. This is after the 6th month. So this is just a repeated slide. What we have here, which is additional to the previous slide, is just at the bottom, babbling. What do we mean by babbling? It is producing a consonant and vowel strings, such as ba, or da, or ta. So children by this age, which is the first year, are able to produce a string of a consonant and a vowel, such as da or ma. Sometimes they say mama at this age. They are able to produce a consonant and vowel strings. what happens next? After they complete their first year, so between the first and the second year, between the 12 months and the 24th months, or the 24 months of age, children spend a few months in the holoplastic stage. What do we mean by the holoplastic stage? It is a stage in which they are able to produce just one word. So they use this one word as a form of communication. When they are hungry, they say milk, and the mom understands that the child is hungry, that he wants milk. When the child, for example, wants to sleep, he says bed, which means I'm sleepy, I want to go to bed. So at this age, the child starts to develop the use of one language as a form, one word as a form of communication. This is called the holoplastic stage. What happens right after the holoplastic stage? After or between somewhere between 2 years and preschool years, which is roughly the 5th year or the 6th year, an interesting thing happens. It is called vocabulary spurt. So it is just like an explosion of vocabulary. The child starts to use and to understand and to perceive vocabulary so quickly, with an average of 4 to 8 new words every day. So the child learns, this is in the preschool years, between 2 to 4 years, 2 to 6 years of life. The child acquires an average of 4 to 8 new words every day. So by the time they are 7, they have had learned a large number of words. So as now we have finished this lecture, let's take the exercise. So the holoplastic stage is, it's a stage. When is the stage? Is it before birth? Is it between birth and 12 months? Is it between 12 months and 24 months? Or after 24 months? So I'm going to give you some time to think of an answer for this exercise. So what is the holoplastic stage? When does it happen? When does it exist? Is it between, or is it before birth? Is it between birth and 12 months? Or between 12 months and 24 months? Or after birth? Or after 24 months? If you have answered with B, your answer is correct. Oh, sorry, if you have answered with C, because the holoplastic stage is right after the first year, as we can see on this slide. The holoplastic stage is between 12 months and 24 months. So if you have answered with C, your answer is correct, because this stage, the holoplastic stage, is between 12 months and 24 months. Thanks very much for listening, and see you in the next lecture. الأولى الآن الثانية كامل.